Hey guys, how we doing? Today I'm gonna be talking about how I made my own mini ITX small form factor PC case. It actually took a lot of time. I dedicated a great amount of money, time, effort into this project, and hopefully we will be going into mass production. So let's take a look at my PC case. So if we go right here and click on this, this is my PC case. Overall, we're looking at 7.8, 7.9 liters in overall volume. We are featuring LED power button with three different colors. We are kind of hopefully in the future will produce a case like this. This is how it looks. So for example, the headset that's on my head now is this one. So this is that one, and this is how thick the case is. If we move to the side, this is where we see the ventilation holes for the GPU, the graphics card. Let's not go into different kinds of images, but let's take a look at it from the side like that. If I zoom in, you can see my 1060 graphics card. That's where I have the power cable and the I/O shield for the mini ITX motherboard, and this is my headset. So this headset is like, I hope that it gives you a good amount of scale and how small and thin this case is. Alright, so if we take a look at it from this side, to be honest with you, this is as tall as this case could ever get, because although it doesn't look like it, the graphic card's bracket is actually quite long, and try I have tried to kind of tinker with a few millimeters to get this layout to fit. You can't just like compress this more than this. Just impossible, to be honest with you. You cannot make this case shorter 1 or 2 millimeters. I think I've done quite a nice job actually. So as you can see, I'm just using one metric 4 screw right here because that's more than plenty. The reason why I have three holes here is because if your graphics card is only one slot, two slots, or three slots, you actually have the option of choosing whichever configuration fits your graphics card. That's the HDMI cable. This is the graphics card. This is our power. This is the I/O shield for the mini ITX motherboard. That's my keyboard. This is my mouse, the headset, and that's pretty much it. That's all the I/O that I personally use, and I think it's enough, to be honest with you. I don't really have a lot of different needs for a front I/O or a lot of USB ports. Moving on, the biggest difference between the cases in the market and the case that I have designed is this plate in between the graphics card and the CPU, because I don't want the hot air coming from the graphics card into the CPU's cooler. So I have designed this wall in between the components. That way I actually manage to get them operating very similar to open test bench results, couple of degrees in between Celsius. Another thing that we actually had a few problems was the standoff screws. So if you take a look, this is our first try. I've actually managed to get this width quite thinner, and overall the distance from here to here a lot smaller. So overall, I've managed to use the space quite well, quite efficiently. So at first I've tried to use a different kind of metal epoxy, but this one right here broke off, and that didn't really worked out. My initial design was good for only two uh, PCIe Express slots. We managed to bump up to three. And overall, if I kind of show you the design, at first I was trying to use a wall like this to block off the components, but I'm gonna show you the designing part of things now, and when that happens you're gonna be able to see much better how the whole case is actually put together. And in meanwhile, we actually manage, if you could just give me a second, we actually managed to get rid of all these parts and actually combine them all together, something like that. So instead of this being three parts, it's right now just only a single part, and it fits much better. My first design, so this one didn't really work out that well. You always had gaps in between the upper part and the side panel, like you could see the thing bowing. I've managed to solve that problem. Problems and problems, and they don't finish. Alright, we get to my second Mark II. Again, this is a little bit thinner, and I also managed to paint this quite well, but we actually got rid of all the screw holes and the screws right here. Overall, this is our wall in between the graphics card and the CPU. Also, I designed the part that holds the power supply much better, because it's not only fixed to this panel, but it is also fixed to that panel as well. Instead of using only one kind of 90-degree angle PCIe cable extension, I've actually made that just like 180 degrees, and that enabled me to use three slots instead of two, like you see here. Overall, we also change the height of the motherboard that sits on the standoffs, and we actually use what we call punch to press the inserts into this frame right here. So they are these parts and these parts. Alright, I can show you the color, but to be honest with you, this is gonna look like blue, but this is like greenish blue. It's like it's, to be honest with you, it's more green than it is blue. But the webcam is not doing a very good job here. Excuse my methods. I don't have actually a webcam. This is the camera of my cell phone. Okay, moving on. Let's open our parts. Okay, if we slide this like that, and I'm gonna move up like that, and I'm gonna show you how it all works. So this part right here, this part, let me show you like this. This is actually a part that slides into this panel, and then with the screw holes right here. So you have one there, two, and then another one. So with four metric 3 screws, you actually bolt it on, and then they get spot welding. That way, I can actually very precisely kind of put this inner frame into the whole chassis, and once all the screws are into their places, I just spot weld them together. And this is, like I said, this is how the side panel goes on, and this is our top brace. um, SolidWorks. Okay. So uh, overall, this is the design. I've even managed to put some ventilation holes here to get things properly cooled. This is our top plate, or should I say a top bracket. And if you don't add this part of the back panel right here, it kind of flexes a lot. So that's the reason why I try to add this part to add a really nice like rigidity into the case design. Overall, anything else I should mention? Since there's not a lot of space, it might be just a little bit harder to build a PC in this case. But I've actually, I did think about the way you should, put together a case. Even I have a hole here to actually insert a screwdriver so you can actually hold the power supply into this place. So imagine you have a screwdriver, you just come in through this hole and then tighten the screw right there to hold the whole power supply. And 3 screws honestly is more than enough to hold SFX or SFXL power supply like that. You have 2.5-inch storage devices, whether they be 9 millimeters or 7 millimeters, doesn't really matter. We have lots of room. We also have, if you look down here, from this side to the bottom of the motherboard, we have 7 millimeters of clearance, and from the CPU to the top of the case, so from here to this panel, like if let me show if I can uh, get it. So if we put the side panel on, so from the CPU to this side panel, to the surface right here, you have more than 60 millimeters of clearance. But just to make sure that we're actually not putting the CPU cooler fan right up against the side panel, I suggest that you leave about 2, 3, if possible 5 millimeters of clearance. So what we recommend is 58 millimeters. But if you really had to push for it, you could go up to 60 millimeters of clearance. Alright, this piece actually fits in this gap and holds the graphics card as well. And this is our design. Let's, let's show you what it's really like. So this is my desk, as you can see, and this is our PC. Just to give you a reference, if I can get something that seems to scale very well across the world, I am gonna show you. What can I show you? I can show you. Give me guys just a second. I think I can find something that that will give you an idea of how small this PC case is. I think you know what this is. This is a toothbrush, and if you put it right up against the case, it's almost as half as you can get it to be. So let's put the toothbrush away, and let's say just a normal glass. I think that will give you a very nice idea of uh, how small the case is. And as you can see right now, I'm using my PC case. If we come to the side, this is our graphics card, this is our top ventilation, just like the picture, and this is the rear I/O. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about what will be holding you back if you decide to buy this case and if you decide to build your system in it. So the first thing that's probably going to hold you back is the amount of components that you can get inside, especially the power supply. If you would like to get yourself 1,000 watts power supply, 1,100, 1,200, anything like that, depending on your country, or should I say your region, you might not be able to build a fully fledged system in a PC case like this. You might not be able to put Ryzen Epic or like a very high grade CPU. And even if you manage to put a CPU that's like 24 cores, 64 cores, or anything of that sort, you're probably gonna run into cooling problems because this case allows for 58 millimeters of clearance, and within that clearance, what you can get is about 150 watts of cooling performance, but that should be very capable and very manageable up to Intel's 12th generation, let's say 12600K or 12700K. Or you could also take a look at AMD's 56 5600 X, I believe that's what it's called, and 5700X. So anything from 6 to 8 cores, even 10 cores if we count the performance and efficiency cores all together. I think up to 12 cores you should be fine. To be honest with you, anything within 150 watts should be fine. And within from the graphics card point of view, we're taking a look at pretty much the biggest thing that you can fit in 305 millimeters, not the width, the length. So it could be 305 millimeters long if it's the 3090, 3080 Ti, 3080, 3070. It's not gonna be a problem at all as long as you can find a power supply that's gonna be enough with your GPU. So overall restrictions, graphics card wise, very low. You kind of have to find the biggest graphics card kind of in the market to actually not be able to fit a graphics card into this case. And from CPU perspective, you're not gonna have any problems with 12600K, 12700K, AMD 5600X or 5800X. So it's, I mean, you can actually build a pretty decent system into this case, and I hope it helps. I hope it kind of motivates you to not make your own case, but to come to me to buy a case like this, because believe me, guys, this is a lot of money. This is a lot of effort and time, and hopefully in the future we're gonna make mass production cases that you would just pay the money, get it, build your system in it, and be done. Because this is like really hard work. It took me at least 4 months to even get to the DOS Mark III remake. So thank you for your time. I hope you guys have a nice day.